What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Praise Podcast. And you are in for a treat today. You might be in for a circus. We don't know, but it's going to be a good time, a good conversation. We've got the Eli Gallinger in the house with us today. We're going to get to dive into his story a little bit. But before we get to that, of course, my name is Eric. Good to see you again, and good for you to hear my voice again. And of course, we have the Brooke Paninsky in the room. Ooh. She's back, fresh off of vacation. Brooke, we don't really want to hear a lot about it because we're jealous and we're bitter, but just give us like quick, how was the beach?
Well, Hayden and I went to Mexico, and it was quite an experience. It was a good experience, but of course, when you're out of the country, it's just different than what you're used to, and so it was a lot of processing and just taking it all in, and we learned a lot and met a lot of really cool people from there, and yeah, the sun was awesome. It was like 85 degrees and sunny, a great breeze the whole time. I'm tan today. Woo!
But peeling. The
But
skin is peeling.
I know, yeah. I said, is my nose peeling? It's kind of tender.
Yeah, she had the audacity to ask us, the two guys that have been stuck in snow and freezing cold, is my nose peeling?
You guys tolerate it. It's fine. But it was great. Thank you for asking.
Well, we're glad you're back.
We're glad to be back.
And we're going to jump right into this because there is nobody more excited to be here today than Eli.
And by excited, Eric surely means a little nervous.
So excited.
You're excited.
Yeah. This isn't my first rodeo.
Yeah,
no.
He's good to be here. So if you don't know, real quick, I'm gonna introduce Eli to you just a little bit, so you have a little bit of backstory before we let him share his own story. But on this podcast so far, of course, we have kind of been doing this "What's Your Story" type episodes, and so Eli has drawn the short straw in being next, and we are super pumped about that. But Eli, for those of you that maybe aren't a part of Central Christian Church or don't know, Eli is a part of our worship staff here at Central. And he's one of those crazy talented people that can do anything that you ask him to do, and he can do it, and he'll do it better than you.
I'm blushing.
And so I know, I can see that. They can't, but I can.
Through your beard.
And, But yeah, he is, he's just a super cool guy, and we are really excited to let you all get to know him a little bit better and dive into his story. But before we do that, before we get into that story, we're going to ask you a few kind of questions that you're actually the first story that we've done that isn't Brooke or myself. So you're actually like the first where we get to like tag team.
I have a lot to live up to.
You really do.
Let me make up a story really fast.
Yeah, you really do. So, Brooke, I'll ask a question first, and then you can ask her, because yours is like serious and like actually a good question. Mine are.
I don't know if that's a compliment or if I'm like a dig.
I just don't want to let you down in your expectations. That's why I'm nervous.
It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Well,
no,
you're already doing well. You're doing so well. So Eli, first things first. Okay.
Yeah.
So on this, one thing that we like to talk about, this is kind of a worship-based podcast. So we talk about music on here.
I know a little bit about that.
Are you comfortable discussing that realm?
We'll do it. I'll allow it.
We'll allow it.
I'll allow it.
So one thing that we like to talk about is we like to know what everyone's favorite and least favorite, because a lot of people, we think it's okay to say our favorite, but I also like to know what you hate. And the other people should know as well.
I've got a list.
So that way,
I've got a list.
People should know what not to expect on a set list of yours. That's kind of what I said. All right. So we'll start with the first one. So like, let's say you could be leading this, or we'll even say you don't even have to lead this. Okay. This is your favorite song right now, or just ever, to play, lead, or sing in a worship context.
I'm going to surprise you here. I think my favorite song to lead and play, hold on to your seat.
I'm holding.
Every Victory, okay?
Really?
I'm not going to lie. Every Victory hits every time.
The Gokester.
Everybody else is probably, I heard this before. But me, I'll play it all the time. Every time, every set.
It's really not that old.
It's not.
I mean, it's
technically,
it's on their most current album.
Well, tell them what John said the other day.
Yeah,
that was about that song, right?
Yeah, you were. Eli was apparently. John actually he called me over this, and it's really funny. He was watching.
Oh, that is what that song was about.
The Eli was leading in our high school service the other day,
As I do,
and he was getting ready to intro every victory, and in it he goes, "We're going to sing this old song." And the copyright on it is 2021. It is literally from their last album.
And John's like, "Oh yeah, what a classic!"
It's a real classic.
John's just jealous because it's his favorite song. Also,
It probably is. He's a big Danny Goki guy.
Well, didn't we? Well, no, that's not true. I was gonna say, didn't we do that at Easter? But I think that's
We
a different.
did.
Was it?
We did.
Was it?
I'll
Okay.
never forget it.
Yeah.
We sang it 90 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did do it at Easter.
It was Easter. That's right. Yeah.
anyways,
Okay.
still
It was
love
good. That's
Every
a,
victory.
That's still a good answer.
It's a great song.
That
Lyrically,
or
it's
probably the newest
solid.
song that's my favorite is probably "Same God." I love that.
Yeah. Oh, we can talk about that
little
album all
bit.
day.
That album
I
is a
have
great
some
album.
things to say.
Great album.
So
I
good.
mean, there's a lot of great albums that just came out, but "Same God" is fantastic to lead.
And if you don't know
It's
that
fun.
one, that's Elevation. And that's
is
off their
Elevation.
new album called Lion.
Lion.
Which just released a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are good choices, solid choices.
Yeah.
I want to know
Comfortable
now.
choices.
I want to know now. What's this like? What's the song that you just cringe every time you hear it? And it's okay to the goal of this is almost to offend somebody. So it's okay to say a
Well,
song that everybody else likes.
I hope this offends someone. I
Oh my
strongly.
gosh.
It has never been in my set list. Just played it about an hour ago.
Yeah.
I Thank God is not one of my favorite songs.
Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, okay, first of all, Maverick City, hard to beat. They're very unique. They have their own sound. You can't just you just can't come off the street and start playing Maverick City. I mean, so it's like I've seen a handful of churches lead this song, and it's just always kind of been a little cringy because they're just not 100% there. And I don't know. It's always in the back of my mind when we play it. It's like, is this what we sound like? Because I hope not. But
I think
I
you
think
guys
God
pulled
is
it off
just-
today.
I think it's a good song. I'll
You
listen
pull
to
it off
it,
every time.
but
Yeah. You did great.
it's not. You're not gonna find it on my list.
I
That's
get
for
it.
sure.
I get it. You don't like to spin around?
Listen, no offense, no offense.
Yeah. That's okay. That's what that segment is actually for.
But don't come expecting
straight.
that.
There
song.
are a lot of people who are like, "What?" and just totally appalled. And there are going to be listeners who are like, "Wow, finally someone
Finally,
said it."
somebody said it.
This guy was dancing on stage to the song. What a liar!
Yeah.
That's
No,
what they're gonna say.
it's great.
It happens.
It's
It
a good
happens.
song.
It
It's
is.
a good
It's not a
song.
bad song.
But you just
No,
you
I
have to
get
know
it.
what you're doing to pull it
Yeah,
off.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Okay, Brooke.
Yeah.
Hit him with your deep, great
See,
question.
I don't even think it's a deep.
Well, it's not.
It
but
is a great
just
question.
When you come from, what's your favorite song?
What's your favorite color?
Okay. Well, we'll move right past that. So, my question that I loved asking Eric, and I loved thinking about it for myself, and I already know I'm going to enjoy what your response will be.
Yeah.
But my question, if I can get the wording right, is what is a dream, goal, or thing that you wish to experience or accomplish, in your life?
That's just a loaded question.
Yeah, of course.
loaded
That's what
question.
makes it good. Just a dream,
But
goal,
just
or
a
thing.
dream goal. This
Anything.
isn't like this is what you want to do, but this is just a thing you want to experience, right?
Sure, yeah. If
Just-
that's how you want to answer it, you go.
I don't know. It just came to me.
Mm-hmm.
A big goal of mine in my musical career
Mm-hmm.
was to always be able to go back to my hometown, which is near Columbus, Ohio. So my hometown, let's say Columbus, Ohio. Go back, playing with an artist, and selling out the hometown arena, and inviting all your friends and family to come. That's always been probably my biggest goal, is to just be able to sell out or even play. It doesn't. I mean, 3 people can be there. It's fine. Just in the hometown arena, say, "Hey, Grandma, guess what? Guess what I'm doing? You want to come? You want to come?" And she's gonna go, "No, I don't want to come." And then, that's fine. But my
Why
friends
does
are gonna
everybody's
be there.
grandma
Eric
sound
will
like
be
that?
there.
My grandma
I was
does
just-
not sound like
no?
that. She's precious,
No,
and
my
she would be the
grandma
first in
My
line.
grandma doesn't say like that. She's not gonna hear this probably, so it's okay.
Oh, Granny.
I'm sending it to her.
Okay.
But
That's so funny.
I have do I get that phone call? I mean, I'm
Listen.
not from the hometown, but
I think closest friends and family. I think you make that list.
all right.
Oh,
that's all I
that's
need to know.
good.
Well,
I
we
think you
can end the
make that list.
podcast right there. We've
All
heard all we
right.
need to hear.
Thank you guys
That's
so
all I
much.
wanted.
Good night.
I brought Eli on here for him to say his true feelings, and now that I've got
That was
that,
it.
We can move along. That's a good answer.
Yeah, I think
That is
that.
is that where the Blue Jackets play? Is that what you would consider your hometown?
So we have two. We have the Blue Jackets, which is Nationwide Arena, which is, I think, the bigger, like Maroon 5 will go there and play. And then we have our Schottenstein Center, is where OSU does all their basketball games. And that's where, like, Winter Jam will go. So, like, the lower
It's not lower.
the lower side of arena.
Maybe compared to the other one, but
So it's I mean
I will
Either one would be
literally
awesome.
settle for Nationwide or
I'll settle for a 20,000 seat arena.
I mean,
that's fine.
I love that.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. I
that's
also I totally agree. Like that would what a special thing that would be to know that the Lord, took you through all that and you're leading worship for, thousands of people, whatever. But then just you're on the road or you're doing stuff and what that's like touring and with other things.
Yeah.
But like you're on the road and you only have the people you're with or whatever. And then you get to go and like have a sense of home. And then not only that, but like get to like see and hug your familiar faces.
Nice.
I mean,
that is nice.
That would be incredible. That's a
Hey,
really
but now
good
I just
goal.
say, hey, family, do you want to come to Mount Vernon, Illinois, and watch me rip some worship at Central Christian Church?
And then they get in the RV and they head this way.
This way.
And they head this way.
Shout out to the family doing
Yeah.
the RV life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. So here's kind of how this works. We're basically going to simply ask you the question,
Okay.
Eli, what's your story?
Great.
And then you are just going to kind of give us your backstory, how you wound up here, and what life looks like for you, what it has looked like for you, your background, anything that you want to fill them in on. This is your time, time to
This is a
shine.
big
So,
I think it was like another thing too, just like highlighting like the worship ministry part, like your heart for worship and all of that, and your story and how the Lord has used that. That was kind of I think that people want to hear about.
That is a crazy story.
So-
My worship experience is a crazy story.
yeah. So that
So
being said,
Eli-
I feel like I need to uncrumble a piece of paper from my pocket. Shaking.
Just shaking hands.
Just shaking hands.
Let the people hear the
Well,
paper shaking. But Eli,
Yeah.
what's your story?
My story is long, but I'm going to shorten it up a little bit. Well, I was homeschooled. We'll start with that. My whole life. Family did a great job. They kind of said, here's the computer. Now go and do your work, and we'll check up on it later. Big mistake. It gave me a lot of time to put my school on the side and work on music all day, every day. But they didn't know it didn't hurt them. Anyway, homeschooled, I had the opportunity to grow up in church and play alongside my grandfather. He was a guitar player, blues guitar player. And my dad, he played a little bit of music. So we'd play at churches, and I think I've been to probably 3 churches growing up, and was always on the worship team, always involved. My family was always involved in a church. And then I was 13 years old and finally got with a group of people that were serious about music for the most part, and kind of started playing with them. And it was also with my cousins. A lot of people don't know that. It was with my cousins because family, very musical. And got to travel a little bit, started playing festivals and little shows here and there. And that was when I was 13. So by the time I was 15, 16, I was playing larger festivals with well-known Christian artists, get my foot in the door, all that fun stuff. And at that point, I could play a handful of instruments. I could play bass one day, play guitar the next day, just depending on how I felt and who was there and what opportunity I had. So, so by the time I was 16, I was playing pretty much full-time in a band, playing bass with friends and family. And my dad ended up starting a production company as well, and so I got to go out with him and travel with him doing a lot of production. I try not to tell people this. I used to do a lot of lighting, but I didn't want people to know that, so I don't love
Secrets
doing.
out.
I don't love
Did you
doing
hear that,
lighting.
Fab?
Don't do it. That being said, got to spend a lot of time with my dad. I'm very close with my family. Love the family. So yeah, and then I was doing pretty well. I had a job. When I was 17, I started working at Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. I'll say that again, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
Best chicken in the world.
Hands down, best sauce. I worked there for 3 years, worked my way up, almost had a general manager position. I mean, that's a big deal. Almost ran my own store there for a minute. But my manager told our district manager no, because I was supposed to be touring. So my manager knew what I was doing and what I wanted to do, and so he told him no for me, which I was kind of like, yeah, but that sounds like good money. But
Were you
also,
still in Ohio when all this was happening?
I was still in Ohio. Okay. Yeah, growing up in Columbus area. Opened up a Raising Cane's, so I worked there. It was fantastic. You'll see me wearing a jacket in the wintertime with the logo on it. I rep every day, all day. I mean, best chicken. I was like touring on the weekends, and I'd come home and work. And then, to be honest, I wasn't really going to church a whole lot just because I was just busy out on the weekends. I mean, the bands I was playing with, they were like at churches. They were playing churches, and so I always felt like I was connected in a way and always learning and growing and talking to so many different people. And then I always used to joke, I skipped the van life. I never really toured in a van or, didn't take a shower for days on end kind of vibe. So I'd always joke about it. And then one day, I was 18 years old, 2018. Yeah, I'm 22 now. Surprise to anybody who thought I was like 30. I get that a lot. But I ended up, God was like, you know what, you're gonna go play the underground scene for a little bit. And I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. But long story short, I was going to bed one night, and God just put on my heart the name As We Are, and I had no idea who that was, no idea, haven't heard any of their music, like no clue. And so I was going to bed, and I looked up As We Are on Facebook, and again, having no clue who they are. Dale Vaughn pops up, if you know Dale Vaughn, father of Caden Vaughn, if I can say that. He's probably not going to like that, but I ended up messaging him on Facebook, Dale Vaughn, and the next morning, he goes, I've been praying for a guitar player. And I said, I can do that, let's go. And there was just no hesitation at that point. And this was probably the biggest God moment I ever had in my life, where he was like, go do this. And I just did it. And since then, I mean, I'm a very worryless person. But, I tell everybody this, that I talk to about my story is like, once you say yes, you just keep wanting to say yes, because it's just an endless just flow of like, I don't have to worry when I say yes.
That will preach.
Because, yes, I left and I went on tour with them. I had 2 weeks to learn a whole set, and we were going on a 3-month tour. So I left, and we went from Florida to California, back to Florida again, kind of vibe, and then I went home, and I was only supposed to be filling in for a little bit, ended up touring that whole entire year with them, and lost everything. I lost all my money. I lost my car, but it wasn't even compared to what I was learning and growing. And, again, that was my big God moment where I just fell back and just, trust fall kind of moment. And it totally worked out, which brought me to Mount Vernon, Illinois, where As We Are is from. And then I got to meet Eric Gallinger, my mentor, my best friend in the whole world.
I'm blushing.
And now, and then I was here and I was gone, and I was here and I was gone. I talked to him a few times, not super long conversations, but just enough. And all of a sudden, I was here one evening in December of 2020. Yes. Yeah, December of 2020. I was here one evening visiting my good old friend Caden Vaughn, and just passing through town, and Eric said, hey, there might be a job available. And I looked at him and I said, absolutely not. I will never move to Mount Vernon, Illinois, and I will never be a worship leader. And at this point, I probably had a few offers to be a worship leader, and I turned them all down because I was like, that's not what I'm doing. I'm touring right now, and I'm playing music, and I'm on the road, and that's what I love to do. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm passionate about. And then me and Caden were walking to the car that night after this great hangout session with Eric Gallinger. You like how I use your full name?
I do.
I feel really good about it. And I was walking to the car, and I look at Caden, and I say, God's going to make me do it, isn't he? And that's what I said. Right before we got in the car, I was like, God's going to make me do it. And that was that. And then we left and went home. And then I went back home to Ohio, and Caden said, hey, Eric needs to call you. And I go, okay, interesting. And so he calls me, and he says, hey, I have this job if you want it. And I literally said yes. And so he didn't even I don't even think he finished his sentence. I just said, yep, let's go. I was like, when do you want me? When do you want me there? Because at this point, COVID was happening, and, touring was down, and I had no idea what I was going to be doing. And I was just in my basement recording and writing songs. And then here comes Eric Gallinger to save the day. Just doing what I believe God told him to do. So here I am today, leading worship.
Yeah.
Which is super crazy to me because I was like, no, I'm not a worship leader.
Yeah, I will.
But when you say no, when you say no, he's gonna make you do it.
Well, and that's what's funny. We laugh about this several times because it is funny because I remember the exact. We were in Panda Express drive-through.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, it was me.
Oh
you
yeah,
and
me and you. Okay,
and that's when
Caden.
and you were like, oh, I love Panda Express. And I think I said something like, well, if you just move here and stay here, you could eat Panda Express all you want. And then that's when you were like, I'll never move here or live here.
I said it multiple times.
Yeah.
I was passionate about not living in Mount Vernon, Illinois.
You were adamant about it. And then I think I might have said, like, we'll see. and then
I was here.
That went down.
I was here in January.
Yeah.
A few weeks later.
That's
packed up my car and I drove out here.
Yeah, and then you got snowed in. It's the great snowstorm of 2021, and what a wild.
Don't regret a thing.
Wild time, but yeah, I think. Obviously, I've heard you kind of share, especially the getting to hear part a lot, but it really is. I think Eli's story, and like he's kind of already alluded to. His story really is a testament to the power of saying yes to God. Not just saying yes, because we can say yes to whatever, but understanding when it's something from God, and then knowing that, like, okay, this is something to say yes to. Because I think a lot of times we get opportunities all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's not like the movie Yes Man. You just start saying yes to everything. But, I think in Eli's journey to this point now is really a testament to listening, hearing kind of, God's desires, God's plans, God's path, and then responding to them. And so that's always, every time I hear you talk about that, like my biggest takeaway on that is that.
Yeah, and I feel like it can be really easy for us to think my yes is about me and my story and my life and what God is calling me to and whatever. And although it has everything to do with us and it is our yes and it is a responsibility or a role or whatever that we are stepping into, a sacrifice from us, whatever, through our obedience. Okay, yes, that's true. But our yes impacts, it's the domino effect. It impacts so many other things in a good way, right? Like in this same time, with, this is all happening with Eli's story, but also, there are a lot of question marks, church-wide with staff of the transitions of people and what that opens up and how do we get it filled and how do we make, it's to be like, okay, John's the next guy. Okay, we know that, we're confident in that, and he's being obedient, okay, but that opens up a lot. It opens up a lot, and there's a need there, and how is it going to be filled, and what's the next season look like, and whatever, and people are fasting and praying and trusting the Lord, with their yes, but all that to say, I remember then when my yes brought me to Central for, again, such a time as this or whatever, but I remember we were talking about it, and I was like, but Eric, what about you? What about high school, and what about music there, and whatever, and he pulls up his phone, and he's like, well, actually, strangely enough, as God would have it, I think I have a guy. And I was like, really? I'm like, who is he? And he's like, some kid named Elijah. No, I'm kidding. He was like, his name's
Don't
Eli.
Don't ever use my full name.
I think I'm the only one you allow. I feel like I'm the only one
I
who
allow
gets able to
You
call
and my
Elijah.
grandma.
Oh,
That's
yes.
about it.
But I remember that. And he pulled up his phone. And, of course, on Facebook, he's like, this is his picture. You know, he's young, but he's so talented.
Oh, it's probably that
blah,
one
blah,
picture
things.
with my hair flowing in the wind.
It was.
Yeah, you hadn't updated Facebook in a while.
In a long time.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Actually, my Facebook was hacked at that point. I didn't even have Facebook.
But that was my first impression of you.
That's
Was your
good.
Facebook profile. Yeah. Anyways, but I just
I was
remember,
in the desert. My hair was flowing. I think we need to focus more on this right now.
Well,
My
your
was
hair is
flowing in the
curly,
wind.
luscious in the wind, okay, all the things. But
In the desert.
it was just so cool because you had no idea. I mean, you're thinking what your yes will cost you and your willingness, like you said, and there's so much truth and power to what you're talking about with when you say yes and you experience faithfulness and provision, like you want to keep saying yes because it keeps being good.
Mm-hmm.
It's never without sacrifice and it's never without,
Absolutely.
you know, all these things, but like you see and experience God more and more and more and more, and you just can't get enough of him. So there you are in your yes, right, with coming to Central and worship leading, like you're like, I never would do this. That's what Eric said. That's what I said. You know, we're all just yes, like saying, giving our yes to these things that the Lord is, you know, calling us to. But I think like just think about, again, the domino effect of your yes and what the answer brought to the church staff then praying, well, what it brought to the department with the high schoolers, and then how that's even your influence and how it's been able to feed through and trickle to Ignite students and all, you know, Kid Depot now and like all these things. And it's just been so cool to see how your one yes of obedience to a calling impacted so many people. And you're not done. God's not done using that. You know, we're just getting started. He's just getting started.
Yeah.
But I think it's just really cool to see how like our willingness and our obedience, we really have to be like hands in the air surrendered, like just to be a part, to move willingly, like how God is trying to orchestrate things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, only he could do that. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, so Eli, if you haven't ever, one of the things that I appreciate most about Eli and his worship leading is Eli is not afraid to. I think a lot of times in the worship leading world, like it's easy to rush things, and it's easy to you know, get locked in on whatever's coming next. One thing that Eli does so well is just the idea of just allowing and creating space during a worship time and a set. And I don't know if you've ever, you know, I guess probably unless you're like a high schooler or middle schooler, you know, you haven't really sat through a full set. But if you've been to a prayer night or worship night, you know, you kind of get some of those elements. But Eli, I'm curious, share your thought process behind that, like your just the idea of this idea of space and creating that, because I know that's really important to you, and I know that is something that you're passionate about, and making sure that as you lead, that element is there. And so a lot of people that listen to this, they may lead worship, but a lot of people don't. And so just like what's the reasoning behind that for you?
That's a really good question. Really hit me from the left. Didn't see it coming.
No.
Space. Mm-hmm. Space is very important because, I don't know, you can think about it like if you're praying and it's almost as if like you're saying, God, you know, help me with this. I need this. And it's like you just keep talking. You're not going to hear anything. You're not going to receive anything because, you know, at that point it's just all about you. So at some point you just got to be quiet and sit down with your hands in between your legs and just and just listen, you know. And same thing with worship is we could sing and we could praise and we can be as loud as we can, but also he also loves us when we're sitting still and listening with our hands out, you know, our arms open, ready to receive. And I just love, you know, as a musician, I just love sitting in a good musical moment, and just letting the music speak for us, you know, because a lot of people, you know, it is just about singing a song, or it is about, you know, how much can I sing, or how much could I hit this drum as loud as I can, or you could just work together and make a joyful sound and just sit in a moment, and really it's just an atmosphere. You know, when you come to a church or even a concert occasionally, I mean, sometimes, you know, the lights are set for worship and they're set to be low. Sometimes they're set to be bright. And it's just about creating. It's our job to create that atmosphere for people to encounter God in a way that they never have, or in a way that they want to, because some people come expecting. Some people have no clue and they just show up, and then boom, there he is. But it's up to us to create that. And I think Central does a good job at it. I think Aaron does a great job with the lights, creating that atmosphere. And every element of the worship team just, music changes time to time throughout the years, different songs, different genres, different people. And I think, people are finally starting to realize the importance of space and, silence and just receiving and listening. So
Yeah.
that's my heart behind that.
I think I have to commend you too, just as I love sitting in that. Like that is, that's my favorite. Just not rush, no agenda. Like literally, it is so fulfilling to me and for my spirit to just sit and wait on the Lord and hear from Him. And the more, some people might hear me say that and be like, well, what do you mean you hear from the Lord? Or how do you just receive and you sit doing nothing? What does it look like? I mean, and you learn and you practice and all the things, and you recognize His voice, and the more time you spend with Him and praying about it or whatever, it's just something that He gives you. Holy Spirit gives it to you. And I have to commend though, like I've loved leading worship with you. I think it is a blessing, truly. And the cost that it comes with your willingness to create space and to follow Holy Spirit when moments like that happen. I shared with you guys on Saturday, we had Kept Conference, and there was a moment where you had you were sitting in a moment, and it was like the last of the slower-ish vibe of a song, and then we were going into our last song, which was Glorious Day, which is a bebop thing, and we're hooting and hollering, and then peace out, have a great day, thanks for coming kind of thing. Yeah. Well, we were sitting in this moment, and in my spirit it was like, well, we're not done. And I thought, okay, Lord, well, it's not time. I don't have permission, to move on, it felt. But I'm like, but why do you want us to stay here? Or what is it that you're, waiting for, whatever. And the Lord told me, I'm after one more. And it was like He was working on someone in that moment, in that space. Yeah. And it's just don't rush. But then I didn't have the means or what I feel talent or ability to orchestrate that musically, and literally having you and Eric both there, just doing all of that. We were just on the same page and unified in that. You were allowing the space to happen. And then I remember we were almost done with the last loop of it. I felt it ending, and I was like, oh, Lord, I heard you say you're after one more, but I was waiting for someone to come up, or I was maybe I won't see it, or maybe you just know, okay. And then it was towards the very end, it was almost over. I just so happened to look to my left, and there was a girl, and she just fell to the altar. And the Lord, it was just He was it was her. And I was just Maria, Maria sitting in the front. And I probably startled more people than anything, but it was just joyful because to the beauty of Holy Spirit and how He works in worship and in times like that, to hear with your team what He's trying to do, really not knowing, but being okay, I'm going to trust you. Yeah. You having the ability and the heart to create the space to allow Holy Spirit to really move, and directly we were able to witness, God's heart after the one more, and this girl literally received from the Lord because we were able, and it's not because of us, obviously, but through obedience to know how to just sit in that space and create that atmosphere for people to receive from the Lord. It was just so cool. So, that's testimony, direct testimony, to just go right on ahead of yes and amen to your heart for creating space, because it changes things and it's super powerful.
I got chills.
Yeah.
I got chills.
God's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
He does that from time to time.
He's faithful.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to, and this is probably something that we'll have to do probably a more in-depth part 2 to this topic a little bit more. But while we have you here, since you're so busy and, who knows.
You just love podcasting.
Who knows when we will get.
I love it.
You will bless us with your presence again. A lot of people that listen to this probably honestly don't have tons of maybe musical background, and that's okay. But I would love to give them a little bit of in-depth look into just kind of the process of writing a song, because there's like a lot of people don't really understand. They only just hear it when it's played. They don't really understand the backside of that and how that comes to be, and so I just kind of want to chat with you a little bit and take out some of your wisdom from that. And so we've had when did we go? In January, actually the three of us.
That was a long time ago.
It feels like a long time ago now, doesn't it?
Listen, I got a week coming up here soon.
Yeah, yeah. We took a little writers retreat, and we just went to a very it was like stereotypical in name, but like where we went wasn't. Like we went to a cabin, of course, but like it was not a cabin.
Don't tell them.
Yeah, all you need to know it was a cabin.
It was a cabin.
It was
there was wood,
and
it was very
sweet.
cold outside.
It was really cold, but it was.
You would have
so
thought
much
we
fun.
were in the mountains. We pretended like we were in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you squint one eye and then close the other,
if you just kind of squinted and closed, you would have thought we were in the mountains.
It was a good vibe.
It was,
as some of us would say,
yeah,
good vibe.
It was, and so we went on kind of a writer's retreat and just kind of spent a few days, just kind of seeing what the Lord had to say, and we had some stuff, some pre-existing ideas that we kind of wanted to work through and take that time. But Eli, as somebody that has written songs,
mm-hmm.
and take us kind of just through the process, because I know that it's I hate to use the term process, because I understand that a lot of times you're just like, for all of us, that process is like, all of a sudden 1 a.m. you're typing in the notes section of your phone, and there is no like rhyme or reason to it. You're just like, you read something, and next thing you know, you're like, okay, that's a verse or that's a chorus. And so I understand that. But I don't mean to put the process in a box, but kind of like if you're gonna birth a song, what does that look like?
I like that. Birth a song. Well, our process is a little different than probably some, but I don't know. I have a history of writing songs. I've written songs for a long time, but I don't know. Like, it really depends. As you said, we went to this cabin, and all three of us kind of had some ideas at some point in our lives, have come up with some lyric ideas or a melody idea. But a lot of the time for me, if you're asking me a personal question, it'll start at my home, and I'll just start singing really loud in my apartment so everybody could hear, because they really like that. But without music, I kind of come up with some melody ideas, and then maybe some words will come out of that. But it normally sounds a lot like, and that's how a song will start. But I think our process is pretty nice, just because, I don't know, it worked best in the past, just kind of me kind of coming up with some musical arrangement of some chords, and then maybe I'll come up with a melody, and then, I don't know, I think lyrics are probably my least comfortable area, but I feel like I can write a pretty solid melody. So if I come up with a melody, I'll come to Eric or Brooke, and we'll just kind of work together and kind of come up with some sort of melody and lyrics to kind of a little piano riff that I wrote, is normally how it works. Yeah. And then we'll take that, and then I'll start layering things. I'll just layer pianos and synths and bass and, guitar and drums. And then 2 days later, they're like, we want to play this song now. And then I have to rush and hurry and get this song recorded. But that's another thing, is God knows that I really don't love producing, so he makes me produce songs really fast. So
I came to Eli the other day, and there was a song there's actually several songs that I'm antsy to do and put together, but that's just my excitement. But I was working on Easter stuff. I told Eli this last week. I was like, we've got like 2 weeks. We could put this song together. Like, we could do this. And Eli is, in his very kind, doesn't want to tell me no, but like I could see it on his face.
But it's still possible. The thing is, it is still possible.
He'll just be like,
so I could literally, if I go back, right now and I just start laying down some songs, it could be done.
Yeah.
It could be done.
He's
But
like, if I don't sleep for the next 2 weeks, like I could get you this stuff. But kind of like Eli mentioned, I think it's
everybody's different.
yeah,
everybody's
and
different.
there's no one right way or wrong way, and that's okay. But I just kind of wanted people to see a little bit behind the door. I think it's
sometimes you have to
yeah.
sit down with an acoustic guitar.
Yep.
Sometimes you open up your Bible. Like recently, I just wrote a song, and I think it's killer, but that could just be me. Someone else could hear it and be like, that's awful. Yeah. But, I just sat down with an acoustic, and I opened up the Bible, and I went to Psalm, and, it just started coming. But I felt it building up. I went to work that morning, and I was like, I just really want to write something. And then I did that, and that song came out. I got a verse and a chorus ready. So when you guys are ready, here
Add
we
it
go.
to the list.
Here we go.
Add it to the list. Yeah,
But
there is.
But it happens in spurts.
Yeah.
So it happens like I could be totally like, I want to record a song today.
Yeah.
And other days it's like I have no inspiration to do it. So
Yeah.
that's how this really works.
Well, and that was what was kind of funny about too when we were at the cabin as we refer to it.
Mm-hmm. The cabin.
Like the first night we were there, whatever. And it was just like nothing was flowing, kind of thing. And then
There's a lot of built up tension at that
and
point.
then the morning comes, and Eli was snoozing. He was sleeping, but then next thing you know, like he is a sleeper. And then, but then like that next day, I think we did like 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah.
The next day, and I mean, not like complete, but like
pretty much.
I mean, pretty well there. But I mean, and so it is interesting how it's just like one. It comes in spurts. But I think that's something we're learning is I think how to create the time and the availability to when the spurts come to allow for God to be able to pour out of that because there's a lot of stuff to get done and do, but. It's interesting how and I think we've all kind of seen that. I mean, Eli is super talented on kind of the musical creation part of that and putting together melodies and that sort of thing. And Brooke does a great job with just figuring out lyrics that make sense and putting just kind of honest thoughts down on paper and being able to share that. And then I'm usually the guy that's just in between, that's just doing whatever.
You're keeping Eli and I from arguing with each
just
other.
whatever.
You're our buffer.
I'm just
I'm
like
You just agree with both of us.
I'm just throwing
you're
out.
like,
I'm
really
trying to
helps.
figure out how to take.
Well, Eli.
I'm figuring out. I'm the guy that takes both ideas and then puts it in the middle and is like, "How about this idea?" And we can just compromise.
And then Brooke and I disagree on it.
And then
But we never.
that's how we
But
agree.
we never say. We are just like.
We have to tiptoe around each other's feelings because that's what
Because
it's about.
I care about your feelings, and I know you care about mine, and so that if I'm
It's just
like,
2 sensitive people.
I just-
working together.
I just come off
There's
more
me.
harsh.
Yeah.
it's literally the best team. Like I truly am so thankful for the 3 of you and to
A lot
write
of good
together.
songs came out of anger. I'm
is
not
true.
gonna lie.
I mean, think
Let's
of
be
like all of
honest.
Avril Lavigne's songs.
Oh my gosh.
She's been high on my thought process recently. For some reason, Avril Lavigne.
You won't stop talking about it.
I don't know why, but like I think it's because somebody. Well, the other day, I think Eli actually said he was frustrated about. He was saying something that frustrated him, and then anytime I hear the word frustrated, it makes me think of Avril Lavigne because she always says frustrated, and that just so in my mind now, and so she's been on my mind recently. Avril, if you're listening, I hope you're doing all right.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Avril Lavigne.
It's funny. Well, I will say.
Did
just
you
a-
say Adam Levine? That's all I think about.
Okay, so I will say, turning this back into what we're talking about. I remember watching a creator lesson that Brandon Lake was doing, and this is back in July, maybe. And he was talking about songwriting, and maybe we should just have a whole episode of songwriting.
It is.
It turned into
it's
this.
a whole nother episode.
Yeah,
but
y'all.
It's okay.
You always hang on, and it's great. But
Shout out to Brandon, first of all.
yeah, truly. But yeah, he was talking about 3 different roles in songwriting, and I know I've said this before, maybe not on here, but for sure to Eric. But he was talking about the 3 different roles that people play in songwriting, or 3 different things that occur. One is someone the melodiest. I think he made up all these words, but like the one basically
because he's so smart.
Yeah, he can do what he wants. But the person who is like gifted in the musical side of it to like create melodies and sounds with instruments to really like lay the foundation of that song and how it will sound and how it will feel and how it will build and drive. And that's super important. And he also said there is like I think it was like the architect, I believe. And he was saying this is the person who's really gifted in keeping with the structure and the flow of, the song and the verses and the chorus, the pre-chorus, all these things. And he goes, and then the person who like the heart and the gift is lyrics and the words you use and the story you tell with them and whatever. And like, I was so immediately when I heard that, we were at the time writing this Fruit Farm song or had started, right? This is our this is our first project we were ever given, and that's a whole other episode in and of itself.
It's been laid to rest.
But
that's all I'm going to say.
But that was our first test as a team to do, and it was awesome. And literally in that room with the two of you, I just having watched this thought, thank you, Lord, because every single one of us, like, is a little bit of it all, but like solely, I think, like to me, Eli, obviously you are like the melody, how do you say? I don't even know. The guy with the melodies. You're the one with like this crazy anointed, like ear to hear the music and the ability to just make these sounds. It's just incredible. And like Eric said, my comfort level, or really I feel like the only thing I can bring to the table are words and in lyrics, and it's always, for me, in worship songs, the part that hits me the most. And so lyrics are like, that's my avenue, and Eric, I feel like, does a great job mediating me and Eli, but you hone us in, like if we go here, go there, whatever, like you have the gift to kind of like keep in that structure and the build of the song, like when you're creating the verses and the bridges, like all these things. Like,
I just think it's because he's our boss and we can't say no, so we have to use his idea.
Well,
that's how it is for me. No
he
offense.
said it, not me, but no, I'm kidding. But it's just so cool. And like, I'm so thankful, Eli, that God brought you to Central. I'm so thankful God brought me to Central. I'm so thankful God called Eric to Central. And the fact that we get to be a team, and the fact that we get to you were a stranger to me not even a year ago, and I'm so thankful for you. And I love your story, and I love your heart, and I love that I get to just sit and like indulge in like how you lead and how you lead so well. It's just so special and so cool. So, I mean, we are a blessing to this team, and we're just beyond thankful for you and all that you bring to the table, for sure.
That's a good way to wrap it up, I think. That's well
Wrap
said.
it up
Yeah,
and ship
Eli
it
just
out.
celebrated, like, we're just over his 1 year.
1 year.
His 1 year anniversary on staff.
Who got you the best cake? You're welcome.
Was that you?
It was me.
It was really
Dang
funny.
it, Eric! I gave you all the credit.
Well,
Yeah. That's what
I'll
happens.
still take it. But it was my idea.
I got a piece of chocolate, and my favorite is vanilla, and I didn't get the vanilla, so
So we're going to have to do another cake.
we're gonna have to do.
You're
another
gonna have to wait another year. So
We
stick
I didn't
around.
want to say anything, but I was pretty bummed about it.
Yeah.
Chocolate was good. It was moist, so it made up
It
for
was
it.
good. Shout out to Kroger.
That's right.
We need sponsorships, I think. We've given a lot of shout outs today. But
It's gonna take 30
we
minutes.
were laughing
to shout out
that
our
day.
sponsorships.
We were laughing that day because Eli, we were celebrating his 1 year, and it was like Maria's also her like 10 year on staff, and Maria got nothing and was the one that cut Eli's 1 year cake. And so there was just
She looked at
irony
me
in
with a grin that day.
that.
That's
awesome.
all.
Yeah, yeah. She
Yeah.
was just like, glad you're here, Eli. But yeah,
What
so
a team. We're so blessed.
we are. Hopefully, you have enjoyed getting to know Eli's story a little bit more, and we are excited to have him as a part of this team and on this team. And it's been good. It's been a good year, and so your lease is signed for another one. So
Yeah, I'm here for another year.
we're
So
going to force you to stay for at least another year.
if anyone knows
So
of any job openings,
he's looking to open a Raising Cane's here in town. Which honestly, if he told me, if you walked into my office and said, "I'm leaving to open a Raising Cane's,"
Please
I would
stop
say,
me.
No,
Stop me.
I would be
Please.
like, let me come with you.
said, hook a brother
I
up.
want to work for you. And
That's awesome.
I want to be the sauce guy.
please don't let me do that.
I just want to be the sauce guy.
Eli, I,
wouldn't let
don't
you
think
do
I could
that.
let you go anywhere
Yeah,
without the Lord's permission.
I don't want to go back to working a real job.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
This is way too much fun.
Well, we appreciate you listening to the Praise Podcast. Want to remind you that if you have not checked out the new podcast, The Central Weekly, you want to be sure and do that. That is one of the newer podcasts to the Central Podcast Network family. And then we've also got a new podcast that has recently launched. That is called the Mention It Podcast. And that is a men's podcast done by Trevor Isle, who is leading our brand new Central Men's Ministry. And so if you have not gotten a chance to check that out, be sure to do that. You'll find that in the family of Central Podcast Network. And so, be sure to check that one out. And, of course, we always thank you for any likes and follows and ratings and reviews that you leave. That always helps this podcast get seen by more people. So after you listen to this, why don't you share it with one person? I think we've been doing this math the last few times that if everybody just shares the podcast with one person, we would double the amount of people that listen to the podcast. And then if we just keep doing that, it just keeps multiplying. Mm-hmm. And so, see, Eli, did you hear that? Is that math that I just did on the fly?
I was homeschooled.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't get anything you just said.
You didn't do
that. Was a foreign language.
Yeah,
to
that
me.
was. Yeah, he said, "What is school?" But yeah, so we appreciate you doing that, and we always appreciate you listening. So, that being said, for Eli, for Brooke, my name is Eric. Thanks for listening. This has been the Praise Podcast. And as always, in every day, in every way, let's bring the praise. We'll see you next time.